So Paul, when you call to a farm first where you have an inquiry for an underpass, what are the first, say, things that you look at, or what are the key areas that you would focus on?
So first thing we'll ask, we'll try and find a suitable location for the underpass, Bertie, you know. That will come to facts like we locate it centrally for the farmer's land block, and also then we'll look at see if there are any services underground or overground, and then we'll try and agree a suitable size for the tunnel. The tunnel size will generally be agreed by number one, the stock size, number two, what distance the farmer's milking parlour is from the tunnel.
Right. And say, why are people or farmers in general more looking for tunnels? Well, you know, what are the pressures they're under?
I suppose the biggest factor really is in 2015, when the limit of the quota stopped, people have expanded all their herds. This means that they had to buy land, which a lot of people had to buy land across roads. To get across these roads then, it wasn't viable or suitable or safe. So they had to put in an underpass.
Okay.
But I suppose the most important advantage is the labour saving, Bertie, you know?
Yes.
If you go for a typical underpass and you're going across a road, it'll take on average probably 2 to 3 people to hunt the cows across the road 4 times per day, twice in the morning, twice in the evening.
The liability with that, maybe with accidents as well, it's not a nice place.
Exactly, safety as well. When you get the underpass, the cows can be milked and led straight to their paddock. I suppose another advantage is, Bertie, a problem at the moment is lameness in cows. Without the underpass, the cows can be standing in a collecting yard for maybe an hour and a half every morning, every evening, and farmers have an awful problem with lameness. With the underpass, they can be milked and led straight through the underpass and out to their paddock.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And so where a farmer decides then to work with you or whatever, planning is obviously a big part of the whole process. What are the challenges with that, and say what are the key things to overcome?
Well, for plan permission, I suppose, number one, Grastech look after that for us, but you've got to look at stuff like services underneath the road, ground conditions. You've got to do a topographical survey. You've got to check overhead wires. You've got different reports then as well then. You could have a hydrological report if the ground conditions are not suitable. There might be a water course in the local area. You could have an archaeological report if there's a protected structure in the area. You've got a lot of different reports which varies from job to job.
Right, okay, and does that vary with county to county then, with your experience in terms of reports or stipulations or whatever?
It does, of course, yeah. But generally you'll know the ground conditions in each county anyway, in the areas, you know.
Okay. And say then when you do get planning, say for Croom Concrete, you have a couple of different options for people. Say, could you explain them?
Yeah, we usually go with 2 different options. Either we got supply only, where the farmer gets his own contractor to organise all the work and we just drop the units to site. But number 2 then is the turnkey job, where I would say probably 80% of farmers go for at the moment, where we take over the project from start to finish. We employ Grastech to do the planning and we complete the project in total then.
Okay.
It's less hassle for the farmers and we have total control.
Okay. Okay. And timelines typically for that then in reality?
From initial site visits to by the time you're doing the project, you're probably talking 6 months.
So Paul, in terms of cow flow, how important is the width of the underpass, or how do you determine what width to go with?
Well, usually that'll be determined by the width of the farmer's roadways, number 1. Another factor may be the distance they are from their parlour, Bertie. If the cows can flow through the underpass straight, they'll obviously flow through better. Whereas if you have to go left or right as you come out of the underpass, entry or exit, it will be steeper and you have a possible pinch point there. So that will determine, and obviously the stock size as well then.
So if you are turning left and right immediate to the underpass, you'd want a wider one, is that what you'd be saying?
I would be saying to farmers with a herd over 150 and turns in it to go with minimum of 4 metre wide tunnel.
Okay. And in terms of heights of underpasses then, say, where people want to drive a Jeep through it, or if it's only for livestock, say, what are the options on that?
Well, your standard height of a tunnel inside is 2.1 metres or 7 foot. Now that may change as well because of vehicles are getting a lot larger and higher at the moment. We might have to increase them, you know.
And would that cater for most Jeeps then? Or
That would
2.1?
cater. A 2.1 will cater for all Jeeps, yes.
Okay, yeah. And so in terms of surveys you've done in the past for say, unusual situations, whatever, you mentioned before, 3 surveys, or why would they be asking for that?
Yeah, for
say,
some jobs
councils?
we have to do a tree survey where some of the trees may be mature and are protected. So we have to put in a report to say how these are going to be replaced, these trees, and how they're going to be protected. Also then we may be asked for a hydrological report to determine the ground conditions and if there's a water table, a water course in the area. We've often been asked then as well for a bat survey. A lot of counties nowadays will ask for a road safety audit where the road may be a hazard or dangerous at the time. Other reports then, you've got geological reports.
What would that cover?
Ground conditions also.
Right.
With every underpass, a slurry management report has to be submitted with the planning party, you know. This is to determine that the slurry which is put into the effluent tank can be catered for, and that the farmer has sufficient capacity in his own tank, in his yard, to take slurry from the effluent tank.
Okay. So he has to empty that, have the capacity to empty that, and
he has to
in his own
vacuum
main
empty
yard.
that when it fills up.
Okay.
And land spread it or pump it back up to his own tank.
Very good. So Paul, when planning is granted and you're ready to start the process, say, what administration do you have to do beforehand?
The next process is to apply for a road opening licence, Bertie. Road opening licence has to be applied for all managing all openings and public roads around Ireland. This involves submitting a traffic management plan, safety documentation, location of services underground and overhead, location maps and the dimensions of the underpass. This can be an intense process which is carried out through the Road Maps licensing website. The relevant council then calculate the fees to be paid by the applicant, and works cannot proceed until the licence is granted. It's a user-friendly system, and when the underpass is complete, a T5 may be submitted for the licence to begin the guarantee or bond period.
What is a T5, say, for people that won't know?
A T5 generally is a process where the road must be reinstated correctly. Croom Concrete have to indemnify the relevant council that all the roadworks will be complete adequately.
Such as what, having the road level or no dips in it?
Having the road reinstated properly, having your head walls complete correctly and your ditches reinstated correctly.
Okay, that's what it was, as close as possible ideally
So,
before. Yeah.
I suppose the purpose of the T5 and the road opening licence is to guarantee that all work is completed adequately. Croom Concrete cannot proceed to their next project unless the previous project has been signed off by the relevant authority.
Okay.
New regulations come into effect early next year, where an assigned certifier can only certify that the road is being reinstated. Croom Concrete have recently got this certification.
Okay.
Then, of course, with your road opening licence, you've got to apply for a road closing licence. This involves contacting your local area engineer and agreeing a suitable diversion route to divert traffic when the road is closed. A traffic management plan is submitted to the relevant engineer and agreed. The road is then advertised in the local newspaper, radio stations. All emergency services, local business and householders are informed of the intention to close the road. Should there be no objections, the closure is re-advertised for the agreed date. This whole process takes probably 6 to 8 weeks, Bertie.
Okay, before any works can start on site.
Any works can start.
And when you have had planning granted.
Exactly.
Okay. So in terms of the whole installation process then, say, if it was, say, for argument's sake, to start on a Monday and you're ready to act and move on site, what typically happens?
Generally, if we start on a Monday, this will be part of our construction programme. The traffic management is put in place first. The road is then closed and the site secured. Excavation begins then. First of all, we will locate all the services underground and begin taking levels. If there are services, they need to be protected. The base is then prepared, excavated, and base is prepared for the rest of the day.
And what, say, goes on the base then is what type of material typically?
Usually putting 6N stone or whatever is specified in the road opening licence as per the procedures.
And well packed?
And well compacted. On a Tuesday then, the box culverts will arrive. The mobile crane will arrive first. Then the box culverts, head walls, wing walls and effluent tank are all installed with the mobile crane. The units are sealed internally and externally as they are fitted.
Sealed with what?
The units are sealed externally with 2 coats of epoxy resin. Internally for sealant, you've got a polysulfide sealant. Externally, you've got an adhesive membrane. And inside the joint, you've got a hydrophilic strip. For rolling on then, when the units are fitted on Tuesday then, we arrived in on Wednesday morning and the units are backfilled in layers to reinstatement level as per the road opening guidelines.
And what material, Paul, typically would go in there?
Typically 6N stone, which is probably 100 mil to 125 mil stone, compacted in layers. Thursday then, the base course for road reinstatement is prepared. Ditches are repaired and the road. On the Friday, another layer of freehealing. Fencing is erecting and hopefully the road is back open to the public on Friday evening.
So when can the farmer use it then, typically?
Typically farmers have used their underpass the Monday after we finish on the Friday.